Awesome. It is 12:10 now, so we'll go ahead and get started. If you have any issues hearing me, please do use the chat box to let me know. As I said a little bit earlier, my name is Elizabeth Islas. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the interim assistant director for the Women's Resource Center. Thank you so much for joining us on this webinar, which is called the Women's Resource Center, your feminist hub on campus. This session will also be recorded in case you want to reference it later on, or if you have any friends that you think might also want to hear about this information. So we will go ahead and get started with a bit of an overview of the Women's Resource Center. Our mission statement is the Women's Resource Center partners and collaborates with faculty, staff, alumni, and community members, linking SDSU with the larger San Diego community. The WRC provides support to students facing gender-based oppression by creating an environment that fosters healing, intersectional feminist activism, and enhancement to students' academic, personal, and professional success. On the next kind of middle part, it says services. In that you can see a picture that was courtesy from the Daily Aztec, the student newspaper at SDSU. And it's a really, really beautiful picture. Our space is super beautiful, if I may say so myself. I know that right now with things being a little bit, much more virtual, we're not able to be there, but I really encourage you to come check it out. It's a really nice space. We are a nice, cozy space for people to come, hang out, study. We also have 2 gender neutral or gender inclusive restrooms, a kitchen, a library that is fully equipped with a fridge, a toaster, microwave, water heater, coffee maker, and a lactation room for nursing parents. So we really try to be a home away from home and to link students to resources to feel, more equipped and to have, resources when they're away from their home or apartment. The Women's Resource Center supports the campus community by offering educational programming and hosting support groups throughout the academic year. And every fall, we offer the Women and Gender Equity class for incoming first-year students interested in feminism. We have many more programs and initiatives, resources, but those are some of the main ones. I'll also mention the BRAVE project, which is our sexual violence training, and I highly encourage you to check that out as well. So another way that you can, benefit from the Women's Resource Center is getting involved. And I get this question from students a lot. What is a way that I can get involved? And really, it starts with you just showing up. So you can come and visit us. We have some amazing feminist students on this call right now who are leaders at the Women's Resource Center, and they're always willing to welcome you, to give you a tour of the space, answer any of your questions. So yeah, it just takes showing up, but you can also get involved and get leadership experience by becoming a volunteer, a fellow, a feminist peer educator, a wage mentor, or a graduate assistant. And there's much more information on that if you visit our website. And then next, this is a slide that shows some of our past events. Our programming is really led by the passions and talents of our student leaders. And so these are some that speak to the wide variety of feminist topics that we strive to represent and to speak on. So we have things like Saida Kelly, who spoke about racial hierarchy in Latin America as an Afro-Latina. We had a political party telling, and educating folks how to get involved in political initiatives outside of the university and using their voice. Power, personal sexual politics, how can we talk about pleasure and talk about autonomy in ways that feel good and empowering. The Artivist Film Festival to talk about how art and activism collide, and many other examples, as you can see on those flyers below. Right here, we also have a small map to show where you can find us, and there's a little arrow that points to the teal box. And contact information. So right now, the fastest way to get in contact with us is to communicate via email. So if you email wrc@sdsu.edu, you'll get a response within 24, 48 hours. And then we're open during the academic year, Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Fridays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I highly encourage you to check us out on social media. Our Instagram is @SDSUWRC. We have some really amazing resources and cool photos that speak about, feminist activism and social justice. So I really encourage you to check that out. We also have Facebook. There's our website link. And we also have a weekly email newsletter that's sent by our social media coordinator. So if you'd like to sign up, you can send us an email at wrc@sdsu.edu, and we will sign you up for that. So that's a brief, really, really quick overview of the WRC, but I don't want to take up too much space. I really want to hand it over to our panelists. So I'll go ahead and show this slide on the panel of current students, and I'll go ahead and read the questions and then stop sharing my screen so that you can see their lovely faces. So the first question is, please introduce yourself with your name, pronouns, hometown, year, major/minor, and role at the WRC. Second, how are you involved at SDSU? 3, during your first semester at SDSU, how did you find a feminist community on campus? What does your feminist community look or feel like now? 4, what are your feminist passions? How have you explored these passions at SDSU? 5, are you involved with feminist communities or work off campus? And 6, what are some words of wisdom you would have liked to know during your first year at SDSU? So those are the questions. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen now and jump back over here. And I'll go ahead and let the panelists take it away.
I could go first, I guess, for the first question. So hi, my name is Doreen Hamadi. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm originally from the Bay Area. I'm a third-year marketing major with the interdisciplinary honors minor, and my role at the WRC is the Fellows Coordinator.
I could go next. I'm Carolina Zuno. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm from Imperial Beach. I'm a third year a psychology major, and I have 2 minors, one in Spanish and one in women's studies. And I am the operations and campus partnerships coordinator at the WRC.
Hi, my name is Brooklyn Goodwin. My pronouns are she, hers, and I'm from San Diego as well. And I am a communication major, and it's my first year at SDSU. And my role at the WRC is a WRC Fellow.
Awesome, thank you so much. So the first question, or I guess technically second, how are you involved at SDSU? And anybody can go ahead and start.
I can go ahead again. So I'm pretty heavily involved at SDSU. Obviously, I work at the Women's Resource Center. I'm also currently the president of another feminist club on campus. I'm in a co-ed business fraternity, and I'm involved with TEDx SDSU, like the kind of like TED Talks type of thing. So I'm kind of all over campus.
I can speak next. How involved am I? Aside from the WRC, I'm vice president of a multicultural sorority on campus, Lambda Sigma Gamma. I'm part of a Greek honors association called Order of Omega, and I'm part of the EOP, or the Educational Opportunity Program.
And then for me, I was someone who was super involved and like very all over campus in high school. So one thing that was really important to me is to kind of just zero in and focus on one thing that's really important to me. So I'm just involved with the WRC, but I'm very invested and I love being in.
Thank you. The next question is, during your first semester at SDSU, how did you find a feminist community on campus? And what does your feminist community look or feel like now?
So for me, my first semester at SDSU, I knew that I wanted to find kind of like a feminist or social justice community on campus, but I wasn't exactly sure how to go about that. I remember actually being like at Explore SDSU Day and like seeing the WRC's table and things like that, but so much happened that day that a lot of things just flew over my head. But a few weeks into my first semester, I remember I found like a piece of paper that my parents gave me that I guess it was like the list of all clubs at SDSU. And I saw a couple with the word woman in the titles. So I just kind of Googled it to figure out what each one was. And through that, I found Women's Outreach Association, which is the club I'm part of now and I'm president of. And it's an intersectional feminist club on campus. So I just started showing up to meetings. I fell in love with it. And then the next semester, I ran for the one open e-board position, which was event coordinator. I wasn't qualified for that position at all. I had no clue what I was doing, but I just knew that I was so passionate about this club and what it stood for that I just went for it anyway. And I've just been involved ever since. And then through Women's Outreach Association, I was reconnected with the Women's Resource Center because we would have our executive board meetings there. Like a lot of times I'd have to go to the Women's Resource Center to pick something up. So I went to a few of their programs and I was like, whoa, like this is like Women's Outreach Association, but like larger scale. Why don't I come here more often? And then my second semester freshman year, I was looking for an on-campus job. And it just happened to be the same time that the WRC was hiring for feminist peer educators. Went for it, got it, and I'm still here and I'm loving it. So yeah, it's just always been kind of through that. What does my feminist community look like now, though? I think it is very much centered around the Women's Resource Center because so many feminist and social justice organizations on campus are connected to the cultural centers such as the Women's Resource Center. So I feel like it's kind of like a home base where it's like, as Elsbeth said in the beginning, my home away from home. And it just looks like a lot of different people with a lot of different ideas, but the same goals and values for society coming together.
For me, it was really different experience. I honestly wasn't completely seeking a feminist community on campus. I was, a freshman. I didn't know which like GEs to take and stuff. And I saw Women's Studies 101 and, that sounds really interesting. I've liked feminist topics before. I'm going to try this class. And it was honestly because of scheduling and stuff like that too. So I took the Women's Studies 101 course, and within the course, I loved everything I learned about, the ideas presented, everything behind it. And as part of the class, you would also have to attend some events. So most of those events were by the WRC. So I would go to these events, and of course, like, I fell in love. I knew that it had to be part of my career, part of like what I stood for and was passionate about. So I decided to add that as my minor right away after my first semester. Just taking one course, I added it as a minor. And with that, I learned and expanded the ideas behind feminism. So that's kind of how mine started. And then also just from my org that I am part of, LSG, we also have to attend some events. And those events included a lot of different ideas, but I would always try to go for the ones hosted by the WRC because I found those the most interesting and the most aligned with my ideals overall. So yeah. And then actually, like, funny enough, like, a sister was like, I feel like you should work at the WRC, like they're hiring right now. I saw this, she sent me the link, and that's how I actually got applied for the WRC and have the position I have right now. So yeah, I think my feminist community looks like now it's much more expanded from like my first semester. It was just because of a class, which actually impacted how many friendships and how much I've learned because of the WRC and all other events that come like with it. So yeah.
So my first semester, I was actually in the Women and Gender Equity course for commuters, and that ended up being my favorite class. Like, I look forward to it every single week because not only did everyone in the class have some sort of drive or passion about, creating that same, like, building those same goals with each other, but everyone was just very kind. And then I also met my mentor, Sarah, through Wage. And then just the more I stayed in the class, I just, like, once again, I fell in love with it. And when the class was ending at the end of fall semester, I was like, oh no, what am I going to do now? And then Sarah was like, you can still be involved with the WRC. There's a volunteer program, there's a fellows program. And then I ended up applying as a fellow, and here I am today. And now my feminist community, it's a lot more expanded, I would say, just like everyone else kind of touched on. And one thing that I really love about being at the WRC is that everyone who comes into the space kind of brings their own other outside connections and their outside topics in. And so I'm exposed to a lot more things that I may have known only a little bit about. And now I'm just like really invested, and I'm just learning so much from everyone around me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. The next question is, what are your feminist passions? How have you explored these passions at SDSU?
So for me, some of my feminist passions, I would say, are probably racial justice, deconstructing beauty norms, and youth advocacy. So some ways that I've been able to explore these more and work on them at SDSU, a lot of it is through the WRC and Women's Outreach Association. For racial justice, I think just like doing our best to support, like, for example, the Black Resource Center, or with WOA, we'll work with SAUS a lot, which is Student African American Sisterhood, and making sure that, you know, we're elevating voices. For deconstructing beauty norms, I actually created a program at the WRC, which was called Resistance Through Healing, Healing from Beauty Norms. And we just talked about where they come from, how to heal from them, where we see them, how we struggle with them. And I've done that, I think, for 3 semesters. I love it. It feels so good to talk about that. Also, I think beauty norms is kind of being affected by them is something that a lot of people can relate to. So sometimes people who come to that event, they might not necessarily understand that they have, you know, feminist values and things like that, but then they come to that event because it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels familiar for them, and then they become a lot more interested in the WRC. So I really love that. And then as for youth advocacy, I haven't really done a lot with that, but I did learn that one part of youth advocacy that I really love is kind of the mentorship piece of it. So being the fellows coordinator now, I wouldn't necessarily call that a form of youth advocacy, but I get to talk to the fellows, watch them grow, do weekly development meetings with them. So I feel like that kind of lets me exercise a little bit of my passion for that as well. But yeah.
For me, my feminist passions include Chicanx feminism and really any work surrounding like intersectionality and advocacy for low-income students and first-generation students. I've actually been able to work on these passions by hosting the Healing as Children of Immigrants event and the First Generation Experiences event at our workshop at the WRC. And I just feel really passionate about these kind of topics, being a first generation low income student myself, and being part of EOP, which is, if you don't know, brings resources to low income students on campus. I've always felt like those kind of resources should be, you know, known and talked about, and the experiences that there is behind being a first generation student at a place like SDSU, I think is something that I've always felt really passionate about because it's not talked about a lot. And so bringing that into the WRC was really, really meaningful for me. I've also been able to exercise it through LSG, my sorority, because we're mostly made up of low-income students, first-generation women. So we all kind of share those experiences. And so we're able to talk about them at our weekly meetings sometimes. I've had a lot of sisters come to the WRC events and said that they've loved it. So yeah, so that's kind of how I exercise it.
So my feminist passions, one would definitely be interpersonal violence, and then some that I've started to focus on now are racial justice related and kind of building more of that intersectionality, like Cara had mentioned. And I've been able to explore these passions, one by hosting my own passion project as a fellow, and the topic of mine was growing healthy relationships, where I got to really talk and expand about like those qualities that you should be seeking in relationships. And aside from that, like being inside of the space, I was able to connect with students and provide them with resources or support groups like RISE and other events that we put on that are about interpersonal violence and healing from that and moving onward from that. And that's a topic that I take very personally. And it was just so great to not only heal through that myself, but to watch other people heal and grow from that. And then the other topics and passions of mine, I've gotten to expand upon them just from listening and hearing the opinions of other people in the space. Everyone definitely has their own niches, and we all have so much information and like a variety of topics. So just to hear someone go and expand about this one topic that I may have not necessarily like thought of, it might have been in just the back of my mind, and then to hear like so developed and so like expanded and how invasive that issue really is, it's amazing to me. And so that's how I've been able to expand on all of my passions.
Thank you. The next question is, are you involved with feminist or gender justice communities off campus? And if so, how?
For me, honestly, I'm not as involved with feminist communities off campus as I would like to be. I feel like, sorry, got a little fluff on my face. I feel like I filled my plate with a lot of on-campus activities and stuff the last 2 years. So I never really like had the time to think about that. However, in this semester, I've been looking at a lot more flyers and events going on around the San Diego area. And through WOA, a lot of times we'll volunteer together. So my freshman year, I used to volunteer and help. We would go to Planned Parenthood and help walk people from their cars to the actual building, because sometimes that can be difficult. So that's something that I'm actually looking to do a little bit more. Interestingly enough, through everything going virtual, I've actually been able to explore off-campus feminist communities more through their virtual events because I actually don't have a car in San Diego. So hoping to make that a little better when I get back to campus.
For me, yeah, very much like Doreen, I've had my plate really full with on-campus, involvement and, being a full-time student and holding 2 jobs. I haven't been able to really had that chance to be involved on a feminist community off campus. But I think I would really, really want to once, I'm kind of like less involved in school once I graduate. So that's kind of my goal. But I do a lot of community work through LSG, such as drives and donations and walks. But in regards to like feminist centered, I would like to be more in the future.
For me, like growing up in my part of San Diego, I'm from Spring Valley, there isn't really a lot of like feminist communities around here, and it was really hard to find like-minded people around me in high school. And if they did believe in like some feminist topics, they didn't take a very intersectional approach to it. So it was just like, there wasn't anything that was really like fulfilling. So I actually kind of sought out more of a virtual feminist community. So Instagram pages that talk about topics, podcasts, just even any sort of informational video about a certain feminist topic. That's kind of where I found my community, commenting with people back and forth in the comments, expanding our thoughts on that. And then through the WRC, I follow some of the other fellows on Instagram, and they always like repost other accounts that I may have not seen. And now I have even more access to other like virtual feminist communities. And so that's where I really find mine.
Great, thank you. So the last formal question is, what are some words of wisdom you would have liked to know during your first year at SDSU? And as student leaders that are so well versed in identity-centered work and have been, in tune with your identities, I'd love if you can speak to words of wisdom that impacted or speak to your own identities.
I would say something that was really big for me is to just try everything that you want to. Obviously, you don't have to take and actually like pursue every single opportunity in front of you because that could like overwhelm you and stuff. But especially freshman year or just your first year on campus, you're going to learn about so many clubs and organizations and different things and events. And I know sometimes it can be daunting. There's so many choices to make. Am I going to like go, or is everyone going to know each other? I don't know. But all the presidents of organizations, members of clubs, things like that, they want to see new faces at their meetings. They literally are waiting to see a new face come in. They're excited. They want you to be there. They want you to learn. Even if it's just one time, people are excited to see you show up. So I would say try your best to be fearless about just trying everything that you're interested in. And then from there, that's how you find out what you actually want to pursue, what's actually really important to you. And the other thing is, I would say, don't be afraid to take your time to find your people, your community. I also think a lot of times your first year on campus, it feels like your roommate or roommates have to be your best friends, or like the people you kind of hang out with the first week of school have to be your like little group for like the rest of college. But I think it's also okay, as you're all kind of trying everything, to realize that like, oh, I went to this club about whatever topic, and I really align with the people there, and I think I'm going to spend more time with them. I think a lot of times in college we think we have to be very like one dimensional and like only hang out with these people, only go to these things. But I think trying everything, being well-rounded, not being afraid to like kind of put yourself out there a little bit can go a long way. It's college. Everyone's trying new things. No one really knows what they're doing. And obviously it's a lot easier said than done. But I think if there's like a time in your life to try to like not be embarrassed about like anything, like this is the time. No one knows what they're doing. Everyone's like just as lost. So just go for it.
Honestly, I couldn't agree more with Doreen. I think the best way to put it for me is expand your horizons. You know, it's college. It's the time to do it right now. I would have never thought that I'd be involved with what I'm involved with now. As a freshman, I was very scared, fearful. I didn't want to know anyone new. I kind of wanted to stay by myself, be involved in psychology only because that was my major and that's what I was about. I actually tried going to a psychology club meeting. It wasn't even for me. I didn't like it. Like, it's never going to go according to plan sometimes, but you can do your best to expand your horizons and try each new thing. I can confidently say that I found, my home, even though like as a commuter student for me it was really hard. I didn't feel connected to campus. I wanted to go home right away, and I didn't feel very even motivated. But, I can say that EOP has formed a home for me. The WRC has formed a home for me. LSG has formed a home for me. But that took, a little bit of my part to, attend those events, talk to these people, put myself out there. So definitely, like, it's totally valid to be fearful about those type of things. But once you do it and you feel like you're at home, it's like the best feeling ever. And that's, I think, my advice for any first year students.
I'm also a commuter, so like hearing you say that felt that, definitely agree. And I think my first semester I really did feel disconnected from campus, and I would always just like leave as soon as I was done with class. I was like, nope, over it. And I think I always knew that I had some sort of an interest, and like especially being in wage, I love talking about this stuff. And then now that I didn't necessarily need to go to a class related to that anymore, and I still felt that need to seek out like discussion about those topics, that's when I was like, okay, like I should follow that, not ignore that feeling that I'm getting, and like just go explore and like enjoy it. So I would say like, just really be open and like listen to yourself. That's kind of the big thing that I would say. Like it's okay, like whatever feelings you're having during this time, like it's okay. I was super anxious about starting school. I didn't feel connected to school, and like those are very real feelings, and like I'm glad that I honored those and gave myself that time to adjust instead of just like trying to like cover that up and like just throw myself into anything just to like kind of build something off of nothing really. And so yeah, just honor your own feelings during this time and be really open-minded, and then also like own what you have done. Like there's so much going on, like I'm not like, it's kind of like intimidating to see some people like they're already in like 3 different clubs, and then you're just sitting there like, okay, cool. But like own what you have done. Like everyone's lives are very different. Like whatever you're doing, whatever coursework you're doing, that's very special and interesting to you. And so any and all of your interests and any and everything that you do. That's special, and that's something to celebrate. So that's
Thank you so much. I really wish I could have heard this talk when I was an incoming first year myself. So yes, the Women's Resource Center is beyond blessed and lucky to have Doreen, Brooklyn, and Garo as student representatives and just fearless women, fearless folks that are leading such important work and just existing, period. And so I want to thank you. And now we have about 5 minutes left. If anybody would like to ask any questions to our panelists, to me, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask, or use the chat box and we'll gladly answer. Awesome. So I see a question that says, what are fellows? Great question. So fellows are our interns at the Women's Resource Center. We usually have a cohort of about 8 to 10 fellows a semester. It's a semester-long internship for course credit. And fellows, Brooklyn is currently a fellow. They attend weekly feminist and professional development meetings. They also are tasked with developing a passion project that speaks to their passions, their lived experiences. Brooklyn can speak more to it if she would like, but they really are a core part of our team, and they can be graduate students, undergraduate students, and we really are always looking for more folks to get involved. So I don't know if Brooklyn, you'd like to add anything?
I'll add a little bit. As a fellow, honestly, it's really fun because like you're in the space and you're working, but like you also get to like see all the people who come in, you get to hang out with the staff, and even just like the fellows themselves. I love the fellows. All of them are so sweet and so kind. And like, I'm not gonna lie, like first semester, I don't really think I made any actual like friends. I made those like little semester friends that you have in class, and then after that class ends, you don't really talk anymore. But like now through the fellows program, I can say like I genuinely look forward to speaking to these people. I like talking to them. I like hearing what they have to say, and they're just all so supportive, and just it's so like enlightening to like really see how all of us take our interests and turn it into a different way, especially since now everything has gone virtual, and a lot of our original passion project had to change like in a very short amount of time. And seeing how each of us adapted and changed the format of our events to fit like all the stuff that's going on right now, that's something that I'm just like so astonished by, and I'm just so proud of the other fellows. And also like thank you to Doreen for being such a great fellows coordinator, because she facilitate a lot of that growth and push us to be like, hey, go try this, do what you want to do, but like look this way. And it's a very good place.
Thank you so much. Yes, Doreen is currently our feminist career educator, fellows coordinator. And Doreen, if you maybe want to talk a little bit more about the femtorship or feminist mentorship aspect of the fellows program, that'd be really great.
Yeah, so if you join the WRC as a fellow, as an intern, you will be in the space for 8 hours of the week, and 1 hour of that will be on Fridays. We do the weekly feminist development meetings, and we do all different types of topics. Yesterday we did like resume basics, but we've also talked about community care and like what is intersectionality to you. So all different topics. And then, so obviously I serve as kind of like, I guess, a mentor to everyone, but each fellow is also paired with a feminist peer educator staff member as well. So a few times throughout the semester, you'll meet with them. They're kind of like obviously everyone's connected together, but your one femtor is kind of like it's like your person, you know? And we'll match that up sometimes based on scheduling, sometimes based on interests and things like that. And then another cool thing is as a fellow, you can also kind of be the mentor to our volunteers later in the semester too. So it's kind of like everyone has someone to look up to, and everyone has someone that's looking up to them. So it's kind of like everyone's learning from everyone, and everyone's guiding everyone, and there's always someone there to answer your question and help you out, whether it is your specific femtor or anyone else in the space.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other questions that people have? And I also put on the chat box, you can also email us at wrc@stsu.edu. Carolina is actually the operations and campus partnerships coordinator. So she, you know, is able to answer and direct people to different resources and answers. Or you can also follow us on social media. So our Instagram is at SDSUWRC. So I highly encourage you to check us out. But any other questions that people have right now? Alrighty, so I don't see any questions in the chat or any people asking, so I think that'll go ahead and wrap us up for today. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it and hope that we get to see you in the fall. Bye, thank you.